The sky above Epsilon Prime burned orange and red. Explosions shook the ground as Sergeant Marcus Webb pressed himself against a crumbling wall. His rifle was almost out of ammunition. His squad was scattered somewhere in the ruins of the settlement. He could hear the Kethran warriors searching through the debris, their clicking language sharp in the smoke-filled air. Marcus had been fighting the Kethrans for 3 years now. Everyone said they were monsters, tall, scaled creatures with 4 arms and violet eyes that glowed in the dark. They had attacked human colonies without warning, or so the news said. Marcus had lost friends to their weapons. He had seen what their plasma fire could do to human bodies. But right now, Marcus just wanted to survive. He moved carefully through the broken building, trying to find a way out. The bombardment had come from orbit, turning the settlement into a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered stone. His communication device was dead. His armor was cracked. Blood ran down his left arm from a piece of shrapnel that had found its way through a gap in his plating. That was when he heard it. A small sound, almost like a whimper. Marcus froze. Every instinct told him to keep moving, to get out before the Kethran soldiers found him. But that sound came again. It was coming from under a collapsed section of ceiling. He approached slowly, rifle ready. Maybe it was a trap. The Kethrans were clever. They knew humans would investigate sounds like that. But when he moved a piece of broken wall aside, he found something he never expected. A child. A Kethran child, small and delicate, with scales that shimmered like mother of pearl. The child could not have been more than 5 years old by human standards. Their violet eyes were wide with terror. A beam had fallen across their legs, trapping them. They looked up at Marcus and made that whimpering sound again. Marcus should have walked away. This was the enemy. This child would grow up to fight humans, to kill his brothers and sisters in arms. That was what any good soldier would think. But Marcus saw only a scared kid trapped under debris. He heard voices outside. Kethran warriors getting closer. They were calling out in their language, searching for something, searching for someone. The child heard them too and tried to cry out. But Marcus gently put his hand over their mouth. "Shh," he whispered, knowing they could not understand him. "It's okay. I've got you." He worked quickly, trying to lift the beam. It was too heavy. The child whimpered in pain as it shifted. Marcus looked around desperately. His emergency shield generator. It was his last one, meant to protect him if things got really bad. If he used it now, he would have nothing left. The Kethran voices were right outside now. Marcus made his choice. He activated the shield generator and placed it over both himself and the child. A faint blue dome of energy formed around them, invisible to the naked eye, but strong enough to protect against weapons fire and crushing weight. He used his combat knife to cut away at the debris, working as quietly as he could. The child watched him with those huge violet eyes. They had stopped whimpering. Maybe they understood he was trying to help. Marcus finally got the beam off the child's legs. They were bruised but not broken. He pulled the small creature close to his chest, sheltering them with his body. The child's scales felt warm against his armor. Their small hearts beat rapidly against his chest. They had 2 hearts, Marcus remembered from briefings. Just like everything else about them was different from humans. But fear was fear, no matter what species you were. The building shook. More debris started to fall. Marcus curled around the child, making himself a human shield. Dust and smoke filled the air. He could not see anything, could not breathe properly. All he could do was hold tight to the small life in his arms and hope the shield held. When the shaking stopped, Marcus heard footsteps, multiple Kethrans entering the building. He stayed absolutely still, the child clutched against his chest. Then came a voice, deeper and more commanding than the others. speaking in Catherine, and then, in broken human language, "Child, my child, where?" Marcus's heart sank. These were not just any Catherine soldiers. They were looking for this specific child. The shield's energy signature must have given them away, because suddenly the debris above them was being torn away by four-armed Catherine warriors. Marcus looked up and found himself staring at the most fearsome Catherine he had ever seen. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, her scales a deep crimson red, marked with white patterns that meant high rank. 4 arms, each heavily muscled, 2 holding weapons, and 2 tearing through the rubble like it weighed nothing. Her violet eyes locked onto Marcus, then dropped to the child in his arms. For a moment, nobody moved. The child made a sound, a word in Catherine that Marcus did not know. But he recognized it. Every species had that word. Every child knew it. Mother. The tall Catherine warrior, this mother, stared at Marcus. He could see her calculating. Human soldier, holding her child. She could kill him in a second. But the child was unharmed, wrapped safely in his arms, protected by a human shield that glowed softly around them both. The building groaned. More debris started to fall. The mother shouted something in Catherine, and her soldiers moved back. She reached for her child. But Marcus's shield was between them. It was designed to keep threats out. Another explosion rocked the building. This one was close. The ceiling started to come down. Marcus saw it happening and knew they were all dead. The mother, her child, all the warriors, and him. He did not think. He just acted. Marcus expanded the shield, pushing it out with every bit of power the generator had left. The blue dome grew, covering not just him and the child, but the mother and 3 of her warriors. It was not designed to protect this many. It would burn out in seconds. But seconds were all they needed. The ceiling crashed down. Chunks of building that would have crushed them all harmlessly bounced off the shield. The energy dome flickered, sparked, and held. When the dust settled, Marcus was on his knees, exhausted. The shield generator in his hand was smoking, dead. The child was still in his other arm, safe. The Catherine mother stood over him. Her 4 arms could snap his neck before he could even reach for his rifle. Her warriors surrounded them, weapons ready. Marcus looked up at her and did the only thing he could think of. He gently held out her child to her. The mother took the small creature carefully, all 4 arms cradling the child with a gentleness that seemed impossible from such a fierce warrior. She examined the child quickly, efficiently, checking for injuries. Then she looked at Marcus again. This time, something was different in her eyes. She spoke in Catherine to her warriors. They lowered their weapons, but did not put them away. She knelt down, bringing herself to Marcus's level. Up close, he could see the scars on her scales, the marks of many battles. She placed one of her hands on his shoulder. Her grip was firm but not threatening. Then she spoke, in careful, heavily accented human language. "You shield my child. You protect." Marcus nodded, too tired to do anything else. The mother stood. She gave orders to her warriors. 2 of them grabbed Marcus, pulling him to his feet. He did not resist. There was no point. As they led him away from the ruins, the child in the mother's arms watched him. The small creature raised one tiny hand and waved. Marcus, despite everything, smiled and waved back. He had no idea what he had just started. Marcus woke up in a cell. At least, that was what he thought it was at first. But as his eyes adjusted to the dim light, he realized it was more like a room. A small room with smooth walls that glowed faintly purple, but still a room. There was a bed under him, much harder than human beds, but not uncomfortable. The air smelled strange, like metal and something sweet he could not identify. He sat up slowly. His wounds had been treated. Someone had removed his armor and dressed him in a simple gray garment that felt like soft fabric. His arm, where the shrapnel had cut him, was wrapped in some kind of bandage that felt warm to the touch. The door opened with a soft hiss. 2 Kethrin guards entered, their weapons ready but not pointed at him. They said something in their clicking language and gestured for him to stand. Marcus stood. He had no weapons, no armor, and no idea where he was. But he was alive, and that was more than he expected after being captured by the enemy. They led him through corridors that curved in ways human ships never did. He saw other Kethrins moving about their business. Some stopped to stare at him. A few made sounds that might have been threats, but the guards kept him moving. Finally, they reached a larger room. It looked like some kind of conference chamber. The walls showed star maps and tactical displays, and standing in the center of the room was the mother, the warrior who had found him with her child. She dismissed the guards with a wave of one hand. They left, but Marcus noticed they stayed right outside the door. The mother studied him for a long moment. Then she gestured to a chair. Marcus sat. She sat across from him, all 4 of her arms resting on the table between them. "You are Marcus Webb," she said in careful human language. "Sergeant, 3rd Marine Division." "How do you know that?" "Your identification tag, your armor markings." She tilted her head in a way that reminded him of a bird. "I am Commander Jathara, 3rd Fleet, Assault Division." "Commander," Marcus nodded. He did not know what else to say. Jathara touched a device on the table. A hologram appeared, showing a small Kethrin child playing with what looked like colored blocks. Marcus recognized the child from the ruins. "My daughter, Kisra." Jathara's voice softened when she said the name. "You saved her life." "She was just a kid," Marcus said. "I couldn't leave her there." "You are human. I am Kethrin. We are at war. You could have killed her. Some of your soldiers would have." Marcus felt anger flash through him. "I'm not that kind of soldier." "No." Jathara leaned back. "You are not. That is why you are here." "Where is here? A prison ship?" The relentless pride. Jathara made a gesture with 2 of her hands. "You are not a prisoner." "Not exactly." "Then what am I?" Jathara was quiet for a moment. She seemed to be choosing her words carefully. "In Kethrin culture, we have a law, a sacred law. It is called Falketh, life debt." "I don't understand." "You saved my child's life. More than that, you protected her with your own life force, the shield. It used your body's energy to work, yes?" Marcus nodded. The emergency shields did draw power from the user's bioelectrical field. It was dangerous. Using one for too long could kill you. "You were willing to die for her, a child of your enemy." Jathara's violet eyes seemed to glow brighter. "This creates Thalketh. I owe you a life debt. My child owes you a life debt. This debt cannot be ignored. It is deeper than war, deeper than species." "Okay," Marcus said slowly. "So what does that mean?" "It means I insist on you." Marcus stared at her. "You what?" "I insist. You are now under my protection, my guidance. You will stay with me, with my household, until the debt is repaid. This is our law. This is our way." "Wait, you're saying I can't go back? To my unit? To my people?" "You can go back when the debt is paid, when you have been properly honored, when both sides understand what happened." Jathara stood, and Marcus was reminded how tall she was. "Until then, you are mine to protect." "I don't want your protection. I want to go home. What you want does not matter. The law is the law. You saved my child. I insist on you. This is how it must be." Marcus stood too, anger rising. "This is insane. I'm your prisoner and you're calling it protection? You are not my prisoner. You are free to move about this ship. You will be given quarters, food, training, if you wish it. But you cannot leave. That's the definition of a prisoner." Jathara moved closer. Even with 4 arms, she did not seem threatening, just determined. Among my people, to insist on someone is a great honor. It means I take responsibility for you. Your life is now tied to mine. I will protect you as I protect my own child. I don't need your honor. I need to get back to my unit. Your unit believes you are dead, or captured, or turned traitor. Zathara's voice was gentle. I have intercepted human communications. They think you have given us information. Some want to rescue you. Others want to leave you behind. The words hit Marcus like a punch. He sat down heavily. Of course they would think that. A human soldier disappearing during a battle, then showing up on a Kethran ship? It looked bad. Really bad. So I'm trapped here, he said quietly. There is a difference. The door opened, and a small figure rushed in. Kisra, the child, ran to Zathara, on 2 legs that moved much faster than Marcus expected. The small Kethran chirped something in their language, and pointed at Marcus. Zathara picked up her daughter with 2 arms, the other 2 stroking the child's head gently. She spoke in Kethran, her voice soft. The child responded, then wiggled to be put down. Kisra approached Marcus carefully. The child was small, coming up to about his waist. Those big violet eyes stared at him with curiosity instead of fear now. The child said something in Kethran, and held out a small toy. It looked like a carved animal of some kind. She wants to give you a gift, Zathara translated. She says you are her shield father, the one who protected her when she was scared. Marcus looked at the toy, and at the child. Kisra smiled, showing small pointed teeth. The expression was different from a human smile, but Marcus recognized it for what it was. Joy, gratitude, trust. He took the toy carefully. Thank you, he said to Kisra. The child chirped happily and ran back to her mother. Shield father, Zathara said. That is what she calls you. In our language, it means one who guards the helpless. It is a title of great respect. Marcus looked at the small carved toy in his hands. It was warm, like it had been held close to Kisra's body. He could feel the care that went into making it. How long? He asked quietly. How long until this debt is paid? I do not know. It depends on many things. The war, politics, understanding. Zathara sat down again. But you will be treated with honor here. That I promise. My people will think I'm a traitor. Perhaps. But you will know the truth. And so will I. And so will my child. Marcus was silent for a long time. Finally, he looked up at Zathara. Can I at least send a message? Let them know I'm alive? Eventually, when it is safe, when it will not endanger you or my crew. Zathara stood. For now, let me show you your quarters. Let me show you how Kethrans live. You may find we are not the monsters your leaders say we are. And you may find humans aren't the invaders your leaders claim, Marcus shot back. Zathara's expression changed. It was subtle, but Marcus saw it. Surprise, maybe even respect. Yes, she said slowly. Perhaps we both have much to learn. She led him out of the conference room. Kisra followed, chattering in Kethran and occasionally tugging on Marcus's new clothes. The guards outside the door fell into step behind them, but they kept their distance. As they walked through the ship, Marcus noticed other Kethrans watching, some with hostility, some with curiosity, a few with what might have been respect. He was trapped on an alien warship, claimed by an alien warrior under some ancient law he did not understand, separated from everything he knew. But he was alive, and for some reason he could not explain, he felt safer here than he had in months of fighting. Maybe Zathara was right. Maybe they both had much to learn. Marcus touched the small toy Kisra had given him, still warm in his hand. Maybe this debt, this insistence, was not a prison after all. Maybe it was a bridge. 3 months passed on the relentless Pride, and Marcus Webb was no longer sure who he was. He woke each morning in quarters that had become familiar. The purple glow of Catherine lighting no longer bothered his eyes. The smell of their food no longer made him sick. He even started to like the hard beds that forced him to sleep on his back. But it was the language that changed him most. Kisra was his teacher, patient and giggling as she taught him Catherine words. She would point at things and repeat the names until Marcus could say them correctly. The clicking sounds were hard for his human throat, but he managed. Within 2 months, he could hold simple conversations. Within 3, he could understand most of what was said around him. And what he heard changed everything. The Kethrins did not call humans invaders out of hatred. They used the word because that was what they believed. Ancient star maps showed territories that the Kethrin Empire had marked as sacred generations ago. Worlds where their ancestors were buried. Planets that held religious significance. And humans had built colonies on 3 of them without asking permission. Marcus tried to explain that humans did not know, that the territories were empty, that there was no way to ask permission from a species they had never met. But the Kethrins said they had sent warnings, broadcast in every language they knew. Humans never responded. Someone somewhere had made sure the 2 species never talked to each other. And then the shooting started. Marcus spent his days training with Kethrin warriors. At first, they refused to spar with him. A human, fighting alongside Kethrins? It was unthinkable. And when she insisted, people listened. The first warrior who agreed to fight him was named Korath, a young male who thought it would be easy to defeat a 2-armed human. Marcus put him on the ground in 15 seconds, using techniques the Kethrin had never seen. Human close-quarters combat focused on using an opponent's strength against them. Against a 4-armed warrior, it worked beautifully. After that, more warriors wanted to train with him. They taught him to fight with extra limbs in mind. He taught them that sometimes 2 arms were enough if you knew where to hit. Respect grew slowly, but it grew. Jathara included him in more and more of her daily routine. He sat in on tactical meetings, though he said nothing at first. He listened. He learned. The Kethrin military was facing problems. Human fighters were adapting to their tactics. Losses were mounting on both sides. Resources were running low. The war was becoming a meat grinder, with no victory in sight for anyone. One day, during a particularly heated discussion about an upcoming operation, Marcus spoke up. "That won't work," he said in Kethrin. The language still felt strange in his mouth, but everyone understood him. The room went silent. 6 Kethrin commanders stared at him. Zathara gestured for him to continue. "The valley you want to use for your approach, humans call it the Devil's Canyon. It's a trap. We've mined it, set up kill zones on both sides. You'll lose half your force before you reach the objective." An older commander, his scales gray with age, leaned forward. "How do we know this is not deception? How do we know you are not leading us into a trap?" Marcus met his eyes. "Because I'm telling you not to go there. If I wanted you dead, I'd encourage the attack." Zathara tilted her head. "What would you suggest?" Marcus approached the tactical display. "This ridge. Humans think it's too steep for your dropships. But I've seen your pilots. I've seen what your ships can do. You could land a strike force on top, come down from above. We'd never expect it." The commanders looked at each other. The older one spoke again. "Why help us? These are your people you would be fighting." "These are your people too," Marcus replied. "Both sides are dying for a war that never should have started. Maybe if I can save some lives on your side, it'll save some lives on mine too." They used his plan. The operation was a success. Kethrin casualties were minimal. They achieved their objective and retreated before human reinforcements arrived. After that, Zathara sought his advice on every operation. Some commanders resented it, others saw the value, but all of them knew that Marcus had saved Kethrin lives. Kisra continued to follow Marcus everywhere. The child had bonded to him completely. She called him Shield Father, and would cry if he was gone too long. Marcus found himself teaching her things. Human games, Earth songs, stories about his own childhood. Zathara watched this with an expression Marcus could not read. One evening, after Kisra had fallen asleep, in Marcus's quarters, clutching the stuffed animal he had made for her, Zathara came to take her daughter back to their own rooms. "She loves you," Zathara said quietly, lifting the sleeping child with gentle arms. "She's a good kid," Marcus replied. "You could have left. 3 times now, I have given you opportunities. Shuttles that pass near human territories. Chances to slip away." Marcus looked at her, surprised. "I thought I couldn't leave until the debt was paid." "You cannot leave with honor until the debt is paid. But you could run. Escape. Many prisoners would try." "I'm not a prisoner. You said so yourself." "You are not." Zathara stood there, her daughter sleeping in her arms, looking at Marcus with those violet eyes. "You are something else. Something I do not have words for in either language." "What am I then?" "You are becoming part of my household, part of my family. Kisra sees you as a second parent. My warriors respect you. My enemies fear you." She paused. "And I have begun to value your counsel more than I should." Marcus felt something shift in the air between them. "Commander?" "Zathara. When we are alone, use my name." "Zathara," he said carefully, "what exactly does insisting on someone mean in your culture?" "It has many meanings. It can mean protection, as I first said. It can mean responsibility. It can mean claiming someone as part of your household." She looked down at her sleeping daughter. "It can also mean claiming someone as a mate." Marcus's breath caught. "I didn't know that. That is why I did not explain fully before. I did not want to frighten you. But now," she looked at him again, "now you should know the truth. When I said I insisted on you, other Kethrins understood all possible meanings, including that one." "And what do you mean by it?" "I am not certain yet. I began with duty, to protect the one who saved my child. But it has become more. Respect, trust." She moved closer. "Perhaps even affection." Marcus did not know what to say. This fierce warrior, this enemy commander, was telling him things he never expected to hear. "I'm human," he said finally. "Yes. You're Kethrin. Yes. Our people are at war. For now." Zathara's voice was firm. "But wars end. Debts remain. Bonds remain. You have shown me that humans are not monsters. Perhaps I have shown you that Kethrins are not either." Before Marcus could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Both of them moved instantly, years of military training taking over. Zathara quickly placed Kisra on Marcus's bed, and they ran for the command center. The displays showed multiple contacts approaching. Human ships, a lot of them. "They found us," Zathara's second-in-command reported. 3 destroyers. They're demanding our surrender." "Prepare for combat," Zathara ordered. Then she looked at Marcus. "You should go to the shelter. You will be safe there." "No," Marcus said. He pointed at the display. "That's the Yorktown. My ship, my old unit. All the more reason for you to seek shelter." "Or all the more reason for me to try talking to them." Marcus moved to the communication console. "Let me try, please." Zathara hesitated. Then she nodded. Marcus activated the communication channel. "Yorktown, this is Sergeant Marcus Webb. Authentication code Tango 7 Alpha 3. Do you read me?" Static. Then a familiar voice. "Marcus? Marcus Webb. Son of a, where the hell are you?" "I'm aboard the Kethrin ship Relentless Pride. I'm alive, I'm unharmed, and I need you to stand down." "Stand down? Marcus, we're here to rescue you." "I don't need rescuing. I'm here by choice." The silence that followed was louder than any explosion. Then, "Say again, you're there by choice?" It's complicated, but yes, these Kethrans saved my life. I've been living with them, learning from them. Colonel Hayes, sir, please. There are things you need to know about this war. Things we've all been lied to about. You're telling me to trust the enemy? I'm telling you that maybe they're not the enemy. Not really. Just listen to me for 5 minutes. That's all I ask. Marcus felt Jathara's hand on his shoulder. 2 of her hands, actually. A gesture of support, of trust. 5 minutes, Colonel Hayes said finally. Talk fast, Marcus. And Marcus did. He told them about the sacred territories, about the warnings that were never delivered, about the people who profited from war on both sides, about a child who called him Shield Father, and a warrior who had insisted on him. He told them the truth. When he finished, there was a long silence. That's quite a story, Sergeant, Hayes said slowly. I want to believe you, but I need proof. What kind of proof? Intel. Something only you could know. Something that proves you're still loyal to humanity. Marcus looked at Jathara. She nodded slowly, understanding what he needed to do. All right, Marcus said, I can give you that. But in exchange, I need you to do something for me. What? Meet with us, face to face. Commander Jathara and Colonel Hayes. No weapons, no tricks, just talk. Another long pause. Then, you're asking a lot, Marcus. I know, sir, but I'm asking anyway. We'll talk again in 1 hour. The communication cut off. Jathara looked at Marcus. You would give your people information about us? Only if you agree, only if it saves lives on both sides. Marcus met her eyes. You said I was becoming part of your household. Well, households don't keep secrets from each other, and they don't let each other walk into danger blind. Jathara was quiet for a moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, she laughed. It was a strange sound, clicking and warm at the same time. You are unlike any human I have met, she said. Unlike anyone I have met. Is that good or bad? It is perfect, Jathara replied. Come, we have 1 hour to prepare. If we are to build a bridge between our peoples, we must make sure it is strong enough to carry the weight. Marcus nodded. They had 1 hour to change the course of a war. The meeting happened on neutral ground, a small asteroid station that belonged to neither humans nor Kethrans. Marcus stood beside Jathara as they waited for the human delegation to arrive. He wore a strange combination of clothing, human military pants, and a Kethran honor sash that Jathara had given him. He belonged to both worlds and neither. Kisra had cried when they left. She wanted to come with her shield father, but it was too dangerous. Marcus had promised to return. He hoped it was a promise he could keep. The airlock opened, and Colonel Hayes stepped through, flanked by 2 Marines. Marcus recognized them both. They had served together, fought together. They looked at him now like they did not know him anymore. Maybe they did not. Sergeant Wed, Hayes said formally. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. You look well. Colonel, thank you for coming. Hayes's gaze shifted to Jathara. Even standing next to Marcus, she towered over them all. Her 4 arms were clearly visible, her weapons left behind as agreed. She was still intimidating, her crimson scales gleaming under the station's lights. Commander Jathara, Hayes said, stumbling slightly over the Kethran name. I've fought your fleet many times. Never thought I'd meet you face to face, without shooting. Nor I you, Colonel. Zathara's human language had improved, Marcus noticed. She had been practicing. Yet here we stand, because one human chose to save a child instead of kill her. Yes, about that. Hayes turned back to Marcus. I need to understand, Sergeant. Are you here as my soldier, or as her, what? Prisoner? Guest? Neither. Both. Marcus took a breath. I'm here because I've learned things that you need to know. Things about this war that don't make sense. They moved to a conference room. The next 2 hours were hard. Marcus explained everything. The sacred territories, the missed communications, the evidence he and Zatara had found of people on both sides who profited from the conflict. Defense contractors, war merchants, politicians who built careers on fear and hatred. Hayes listened, his face growing darker with each revelation. "You're telling me this war is based on a lie?" he said finally. "Not exactly a lie," Marcus replied. "More like a series of misunderstandings that someone took advantage of. The Kethrans did try to warn us, but their messages were in formats our systems didn't recognize, or they were intercepted and buried by people who wanted a war. That's a serious accusation. I have proof." Zatara activated a datapad. Files scrolled past, communication logs, financial records, messages between human and Kethran individuals who should have been enemies, but were secretly working together to keep the war going. Hayes studied the data for a long time. "If this is real, it changes everything." "It's real," Marcus said quietly. "I've verified it. Multiple sources, both human and Kethran." "Then we need to end this war." Hayes looked up. "We need peace talks, official ones." "That won't be easy," Zatara said. "My government does not trust humans. Your government does not trust Kethrans. Many on both sides want the war to continue." "Then we force their hand. We expose this conspiracy. We show both sides the truth." "And who will believe us?" Marcus asked. "A human who's been living with the enemy? A Kethran commander who took him in? They'll say we're traitors, collaborators, worse." Hayes nodded slowly. "You're right, but we have to try." The conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication. One of Hayes's aides appeared on screen, looking panicked. "Colonel, we have a situation. Multiple ships just dropped out of hyperspace, human and Kethran. They're moving to attack each other, and we're right in the middle of it." Hayes swore. "How many?" "2 full battle groups. This is going to be a major engagement." Marcus felt ice in his stomach. A major battle, with both of them caught in the crossfire. This was exactly what they were trying to prevent. "We need to stop this," he said. "Both of you need to contact your fleets. Order them to stand down." "They won't listen," Zathara said. "Not to me. Not now. They have seen me meeting with human officers. Some already call me a traitor." "Then we need to give them a reason to listen." Marcus was thinking fast. "The evidence. We broadcast it to everyone. Both fleets, both governments. Make it public. They can't ignore it if everyone knows." "That's insane," one of Hayes's Marines said. "You'll cause chaos on both sides." "Better chaos than more deaths," Marcus shot back. Hayes and Zathara looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. The understanding of 2 military leaders who had both seen too much death. "Do it," they said in unison. The next hour was frantic. Marcus worked with both human and Kethran communication officers to compile the evidence into a format everyone could understand. Video, audio, documents, everything laid out clearly. Then they broadcast it to every ship, every station, every communication channel they could access. At first, nothing happened. The fleets continued their attack runs. Then, slowly, ships started to break formation. Commanders started to question their orders. Soldiers started to ask why they were fighting. On one of the channels, Marcus heard a human captain say, "Hold fire. I need to verify something." On another, a Kethran officer, "These records, they're from our own government archives." The battle stopped. Not all at once, not cleanly, but it stopped. Both fleets were now demanding answers from their governments. The chaos Marcus had predicted was happening. But it was the right kind of chaos. The kind that came from learning the truth. Hayes's communication device chimed. It was the human high command. The colonel stepped away to take the call, but Marcus could hear parts of it. They were angry, demanding explanations, threatening courts-martial. Zathara received a similar call. Her government was furious. How dare she meet with humans? How dare she share classified information? When both calls ended, Hayes and Zathara looked exhausted. They want me to arrest you, Hayes said to Marcus. Bring you back for trial. They want me to execute you, Zathara said to Marcus, as a traitor to my own kind. Marcus laughed. It was not a happy sound. So I'm a traitor to both sides now. That's just perfect. What will you do? Hayes asked. Marcus looked at Zathara. She met his eyes, and he saw the same question there. What would he do? Return to humanity and face trial? Stay with the Kethrans and be hunted by his own people? Before he could answer, another communication came through. This one was different. It was from Kisra. The small Kethran child's face appeared on screen, tears streaming down her cheeks. Shield Father, she cried in Kethran. They say bad things about you. They say you are traitor. But you are not. You are good. You saved me. Please come home. Behind Kisra, Marcus could see Kethran soldiers. They were in Zathara's quarters. They were there to arrest the child of a traitor. Zathara made a sound like a growl. They would threaten my daughter? To get to me? Not if I can help it, Marcus said. He looked at Hayes. Colonel, I need a favor. Actually, I need a lot of favors. Name it. Get us back to that ship. Zathara needs to protect her daughter. I'm going to help her. You're asking me to help you rescue an enemy officer's child from her own people? No, sir. I'm asking you to help me protect a kid who's caught in the middle of all this. The same way I protected her 3 months ago. Because that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. Hayes stared at Marcus for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. You know what, Sergeant? You're absolutely right. That is what we do. He turned to his Marines. Gear up. We're going on a rescue mission. The Marines looked shocked. Sir? You heard me. Move. The trip back to the Relentless Pride was tense. Both human and Kethran ships were everywhere. Some retreating, some still looking for a fight. But Hayes's ship had clearance, and they made it through. When they reached the Kethran vessel, they found it in lockdown. The soldiers who had come to arrest Zathara had seized control. Kisra was their hostage. This is a Kethran internal matter, the officer in charge said over communication. You have no authority here, humans. That child calls me Shield Father, Marcus replied in Kethran. That gives me all the authority I need. He and Zathara, backed by Hayes's Marines and the Kethran warriors who were still loyal to their commander, fought their way through the ship. It was not a battle. It was chaos. Some Kethrans stood down when they saw Zathara. Others fought. The humans helped where they could, showing that not all humans were enemies. They found Kisra locked in a storage room, guarded by 2 soldiers. The soldiers saw Zathara and Marcus together, saw human Marines standing beside Kethran warriors, and their weapons wavered. Stand down, Zathara ordered. This ends now. You are a traitor, Commander, one of the soldiers said. You have betrayed your people for a human. No, Marcus said, stepping forward. She showed me that Kethrans are people, not monsters, not enemies, just people trying to protect what they love, the same as humans. He looked at the 2 soldiers. Is that betrayal? Or is it the first step toward peace? The soldiers looked at each other. Slowly they lowered their weapons. Marcus and Zathara entered the room together. Kisra ran to them, throwing her small arms around Marcus's legs and her mother's arms at the same time. Shield Father, Mother, I was so scared. I know, little one, Marcus said gently, switching to Kethran, but we're here now. You're safe. Hayes watched from the doorway. Well, Sergeant, you've really done it now. You've made yourself a traitor to both sides and a hero to none. Maybe, Marcus said, holding the child close. Or maybe I've just shown everyone that there's another way, a better way. Zathara placed 2 of her hands on Marcus's shoulders. You have made your choice. You stand between 2 worlds. You may never truly belong to either again. I know, Marcus replied, but maybe that's exactly where I need to be, Someone has to build the bridge. Might as well be me. Colonel Hayes nodded slowly. For what it's worth, Marcus, I think you're doing the right thing, even if it costs you everything. It won't cost me everything, Marcus said, looking at Kisra's trusting face, then at Jathara's fierce eyes. I'm gaining something too. A family, a purpose, a chance to end this war. Then, let's end it. Together. And in that moment, standing on an alien ship with a child in his arms, and surrounded by both humans and Kethrans who were choosing peace over war, Marcus Webb knew he had found exactly where he belonged. The war did not end overnight. Wars never do. But the cracks started to show. Marcus stood on the observation deck of the new joint station, watching ships from both species dock peacefully for the first time in 3 years. Human destroyers next to Kethran cruisers, Marines sharing corridors with warriors. It was strange, uncomfortable, but it was happening. The evidence he and Zathara had broadcast caused exactly the chaos they expected. Governments on both sides scrambled to explain. Some officials resigned. Others were arrested. A few disappeared entirely, probably fleeing to somewhere neither species would find them. But the most important thing was that people started talking instead of shooting. Peace talks began on the station Marcus now called home. It was built quickly, a cooperation between human engineers and Kethran builders. The result was a strange mix of architecture that belonged to both species and neither, just like Marcus himself. He was officially listed as a cultural liaison now, not quite a soldier, not quite a diplomat, something in between. His job was to help humans and Kethrans understand each other, to translate not just language, but culture, to build the bridges that 3 years of war had burned. It was harder than fighting ever was. Kisra attended the station's first school, learning alongside human children. At first, both groups were scared of each other. Human kids had been taught that Kethrans were monsters. Kethran children learned that humans were invaders. But kids were kids. Within a week, they were playing together. Within a month, you could not tell which species had been enemies. Marcus watched Kisra teach a human girl how to count in Kethran, while the girl taught Kisra a hand-clapping game. He felt something warm in his chest. Or pride. Probably both. They make it look easy, a voice said behind him. Zatara approached, her forearms carrying datapads covered in reports. She never stopped working. Neither did he. Kids don't carry our baggage, Marcus replied. They just see other kids. Would that we could all be so wise. Zatara stood beside him, watching the children play. She had changed too, Marcus noticed. She smiled more now, laughed. The fierce warrior was still there, but she let herself be soft sometimes. The council meeting is in an hour, she said. They want us both there. Let me guess, more arguing about territory? Always. The Nexus worlds are still a problem. Both sides claim them. Marcus sighed. The Nexus worlds were the planets that started everything. Sacred to the Kethrans, strategically important to humans. Every peace talk stumbled over them. We'll figure it out, he said. We always do. Your optimism is refreshing. Or foolish. I have not decided which. Can't it be both? Jatara's laugh was that strange clicking sound he had grown to love. They walked together toward the council chambers, and Marcus noticed how natural it felt. How right. She was no longer just the alien commander who insisted on him. She was Jatara, his partner in this impossible mission to build peace, and maybe more than that. The council chambers were already full when they arrived. Human representatives on one side, Kethran delegates on the other, and in the middle, the small group of people like Marcus who belonged to both worlds now. Humans who had married Kethrans, Kethrans who had befriended humans, the bridge builders. The arguments started immediately. Ownership of the Nexus worlds, trade agreements, prisoner exchanges. Every topic was a battle. just fought with words instead of weapons. Marcus listened for an hour, before he stood up. "This isn't working," he said loudly. The room fell silent. "We keep arguing about who owns what, who was right, who was wrong, but that's not going to build peace." "Then what will, Sergeant Webb?" a human senator asked coldly. She was one of the ones who still called him a traitor. "What wisdom can you offer that we lack?" Marcus met her eyes steadily. "Forgiveness, understanding, the willingness to admit that both sides were wrong, and both sides were hurt." "Easy words from someone who abandoned his people," the senator shot back. "I didn't abandon anyone. I'm standing right here, trying to save both our peoples from more death." Marcus's voice was calm but firm. "You want to talk about abandonment? Let's talk about the soldiers still dying while we argue over borders. Let's talk about the children on both sides who lost parents. Let's talk about the 3 years we wasted killing each other because someone lied to us." A Kethran counselor stood. "The human speaks truth. We have all lost too much. Perhaps it is time to focus on what we can gain through peace rather than what we lost in war." The discussion shifted, slowly, painfully, but it shifted. By the end of the session they had agreed on one thing. The Nexus worlds would become shared territories, joint colonies where both species could live, work, and honor their dead together. It was not a perfect solution, but it was a start. As the council dismissed, Colonel Hayes approached Marcus. The colonel came to the station often now, though he had retired from active service. He said he wanted to see if this peace thing would actually work. "You did good in there, Marcus," Hayes said. "Made me proud." "Thank you, sir." "Stop calling me sir. I'm retired. Call me Jack." Marcus smiled. "Jack." Hayes laughed. "You're impossible, just like always." His expression grew serious. "I heard from Earth. Your family wants to see you." Marcus felt his chest tighten. He had not spoken to his family in months, had not known if they even wanted to speak to him after everything that happened. "What did you tell them?" "I told them you were busy being a hero, building peace, saving lives." Hayes put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "They're proud of you. Scared, confused, but proud. Your mother especially. She wants to meet Kisra." Tears stung Marcus's eyes. "Really?" "Really. Apparently she's always wanted grandchildren. Doesn't matter what color their scales are." Marcus laughed and cried at the same time. Zathara approached, seeing his emotional state, and placed a gentle hand on his arm. "What is wrong?" she asked. "Nothing. Everything. Good things." Marcus wiped his eyes. "My mother wants to meet Kisra. Wants to meet you, I think." Zathara tilted her head in that bird-like way. "I would be honored to meet the mother of my daughter's shield father." "Is that all I am?" Marcus asked quietly. "Kisra's shield father?" Zathara was silent for a moment. Then she said something in Kethran, a phrase Marcus had heard before but never fully understood. When he looked confused, she translated. "You are my chosen mate, the one I insist on, the one who shields my child, who stands by my side, who has become part of my soul." She paused. "In your language, I believe you would say, 'I love you.'" The council chambers were not the most romantic place for such a declaration, but Marcus did not care. He took her hands in his, all 4 of them. "In my language," he said, "I would say, 'I love you too.'" Hayes cleared his throat. "Well, this is my cue to leave. Congratulations, you two. Try not to start an interspecies incident." "Too late for that," Marcus said, smiling. "We already did." The next few weeks moved quickly. Marcus's family arrived on the station. His mother cried when she saw him, holding him tight and asking if he was eating enough. His father shook his hand and said he was proud, though his voice cracked when he said it. Kisra charmed them both within minutes, chattering in a mix of Kethran and human language about her shield father and all the things they did together. "She's beautiful," Marcus's mother said, watching Kisra play. Different, but beautiful. She's special, Marcus agreed. They both are. You really love them, the child and the mother. I do. His mother smiled. Then that's all that matters. Love is love, no matter how many arms it has. The formal bonding ceremony happened a month later. It combined human and Kethran traditions in a way that was completely new to both cultures. Marcus wore a human suit with Kethran honor markings. Zathara wore traditional warrior armor decorated with human flowers. Kisra was the flower girl, taking her role very seriously. Humans and Kethrans attended together. Some still looked uncomfortable, but most were smiling. This was proof that peace could work, that two species could become one family. When Marcus and Zathara exchanged their vows, speaking in both languages, making promises to each other and to the future they would build together, there was not a dry eye in the room, human or Kethran. Colonel Hayes, who performed the ceremony, said, I've fought in many battles, seen many things I wish I hadn't, but this is the first war I've seen end with a wedding. Maybe that's how all wars should end. Life on the station settled into a new normal. Marcus and Zathara worked together as co-directors of the Cultural Exchange Program. They trained others to do what they did, to translate, to build bridges, to show that peace was possible. More mixed families formed, humans and Kethrans falling in love, having children, building lives together. It was not always easy. There were still people on both sides who hated the idea, who called it unnatural, wrong, betrayal. But there were more who saw it as hope. Marcus stood on the observation deck again, a year after everything started. Kisra was beside him, taller now, growing fast. She held his hand with two of her small arms. Shield Father, she said in perfect human language. Do you ever miss being just human? Marcus thought about it. He missed some things. Beer that did not taste like metal. Music from Earth. Old friends who had not forgiven him for his choices. But then he looked at Kisra, at Zathara, who was teaching a class of mixed-species children about Kethran history, at the station full of people from two worlds learning to live as one. No, he said honestly, I don't miss being just human, because now I get to be something better, something new. What's that? A bridge, a father, a husband, a peacemaker. He squeezed her hand gently. And most importantly, I get to be your Shield Father. Kisra hugged him tightly. I love you, Shield Father. I love you too, little one. That evening, Marcus sat with Zathara in their quarters. Their home was a mix of both cultures. Human chairs next to Kethran meditation mats. Earth plants growing next to Kethran crystals. Pictures of both families on the walls. Do you think it will last? Zathara asked. This peace we built? I don't know, Marcus admitted. Peace is harder to maintain than war. It requires constant work, constant choice. Then we will work. We will choose. Every day. Zathara leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. You shielded my child when you had every reason to kill her. You built a bridge when everyone else built walls. If you can do that, we can do anything. Marcus wrapped his arms around her, and she wrapped hers around him. 6 arms total, holding each other close. You know what's funny? Marcus said. When you first said you insisted on me, I thought it was a death sentence, being trapped with the enemy. And now? Now I know it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You didn't trap me. You freed me. You showed me that the enemy was just a person I hadn't met yet, a family I hadn't joined yet, a love I hadn't found yet. Humans have a saying, Zathara said, about bridges. Do you know it? Which one? Don't burn bridges. You might need to cross them again. She smiled. We did the opposite. We built a bridge where there was none. And now thousands cross it every day. Millions soon, Marcus said. The first joint colony breaks ground next month. Human and Catherine living together from the start. Our child will grow up in that world. A world where no one asks what species you are, only who you are. Marcus pulled back to look at her. Our child? Jathara's violet eyes glowed brighter. Did I not tell you? Catherine females can adapt to carry young from other species. It is rare, but possible. And I have decided I want more children, with you. Marcus felt joy flood through him. More children, a real family, a future he never dreamed possible. Are you sure? He asked. A half-human, half-Catherine child? That's never been done before. We have never been done before, Jathara replied. We are the first. Let us be the first in this too. They held each other in the quiet of their shared home, dreaming of the future. A future where war was a distant memory, where children of both species played together without fear, where love conquered hate. Marcus had shielded an enemy's child in the ruins of a burning settlement. Now that child called him father. Now that child's mother called him husband. Now two species were learning to call each other family. He had been just a soldier once, just a human doing his duty. Now he was something more, something better. He was the bridge, and he would stand strong for as long as both worlds needed him. Because that was what humans did. They protected the weak. They built instead of destroyed. They loved instead of hated. And sometimes, just sometimes, they turned enemies into family. Outside their window the stars shone bright. Human stars and Catherine stars, all the same when you looked at them from far enough away. All part of the same universe. All connected. Just like everyone else. Marcus smiled and held his family close. The war was over. The bridge was built. The future was bright. And it all started because one human chose to shield one enemy child. Sometimes, the smallest acts of compassion change everything.